Tonight on 7 News, the bombshell exit of Ray Hadley. He's quitting radio, and 9 altogether.
It's time. It's time.
On the same day, his bosses face shareholders about their company's shocking culture.
It's all over for Kamala Harris, forced to face up to her devastating defeat as the Trump team moves into presidential overdrive.
The PM calls to congratulate Donald Trump as the past comes back to haunt him.
League legend Wendell Sailor in serious trouble with police after a dust-up at a Sydney pub.
Sydney's dirt bike bandits hitting businesses and charities.
A change of direction as the flight paths at the new airport get a complete rethink.
And fast-tracking the Southwest Metro, starting with passenger safety.
Live from Sydney, 7 News with Angela Cox and Mark Ferguson.
Good evening. The sound of Sydney is about to change with Ray Hadley's shock decision to pull the plug on a stellar radio career.
The big call came on the same day that 2GB's parent company, Nine Entertainment, publicly vowed to take action over unacceptable behaviour in a clear message to shareholders.
A shock jock sends shock waves.
December 13 will be my last day.
Ray Hadley to leave 2GB after 2 decades at the top.
It's time. It's time.
With 2 years left on his contract.
It was always left to me and management. If they wanted me to go, I agreed I'd go.
Denying they did want him to go after an investigation at parent company Nine revealed widespread workplace bullying.
There are questions about the timing due to the review of culture at Nine. Is it anything to do with that?
No, certainly not. I mean, no, not in the slightest.
From Dundas Housing Commission to driving a cab, Hadley went from traffic reporter to being unbeaten in the radio ratings for 21 years. A champion for everyday Aussies and a voice for the underdog, his audience was loyal.
I've had great success and I thought I'd go out while I was winning.
The 70-year-old earning a reported $3.5 million a year.
If I could sum up his professional career in one word, I would say it's fearless.
And feared, with historic public bullying allegations always vehemently denied by Hadley, a former 2GB staffer claiming Hadley subjected him to 16 years of intense bullying, out-of-control sheer rage and gaslighting. Others have made claims or taken legal action, one referring to a blistering, shrieking tirade.
Is he a bully?
I've never worked with Ray. I have no reason to think that he would be.
I've learned a lot from him. I've had plenty of blues with him over the years as well.
From one rival,
Hadley has been a great copier. I didn't know he'd copy me to this extent, but when I said I was going to retire, that he'd retire. But thank you, Ray. Thank you very much.
Today's announcement comes as Nine holds its annual general meeting with a toxic workplace culture top of the agenda.
We have made it very clear that there will be consequences for people engaging in such conduct.
In the audience and in agreement, the former chairman's brother.
It's time for this to stop. This is the Me Too movement arriving.
Amelia Brace, 7 News.
US Vice President Kamala Harris has been hit with the full brutal reality of her crushing election loss, which has now left her Democratic Party in real crisis.
Donald Trump has now swept all the crucial swing states, won the popular vote and recorded a big jump in support in all key demographics, leaving Harris no choice today but to fall on her sword.
It's the moment that broke Democratic hearts.
Good afternoon.
If they hadn't already.
But we must accept the results of this election. Earlier today, I spoke with President-elect Trump and congratulated him on his victory.
And it was crushing. Harris humiliated, but still hanging on to this.
My heart is full today, full of gratitude for the trust you have placed in me, full of love for our country. While I concede this election, I do not concede the fight that fueled this campaign.
A campaign that's now being torn to shreds as too woke and distracted.
Far less than 1% of American voters are ever going to have to deal with abortion directly or indirectly. All voters have to deal with inflation.
The economy always ranked number one among voters.
This will truly be the golden age of America.
And at the Bantam Chef in the mountains of North Carolina, they're eating it up.
Feel great. The right man won.
Feeling great. Get this country back where it needs to be.
What was wrong with it before?
Democrats.
I am so proud of the race we ran and the way we ran it.
Which has left many wondering how she couldn't beat a convicted fraudster, felon and sex offender who was impeached twice last time he was in office. But this might explain it. Trump increasing his support among Latinos, a huge gain, as well as black, Asian and women voters. More younger Americans love him too.
Don't ever give up. Don't ever stop trying to make the world a better place. You have power. You have power.
And the long Democratic knives are out. Joe Biden blamed for not letting go earlier, and a policy package that voters weren't buying, handing Republicans the White House, the Senate, and now quite possibly the House of Representatives on a platter.
We owe loyalty not to a president or a party, but to the Constitution of the United States.
From former Democratic presidents, Barack Obama, progress requires us to extend good faith and grace even to people with whom we deeply disagree. And Bill Clinton, we need to solve our problems and seize our opportunities together. The future of our country depends on it.
Many people have told me that God spared my life for a reason. And that reason was to save our country.
Donald Trump's legal nightmares are also dissolving. His arch-enemy, Special Prosecutor Jack Smith, will drop 2 federal cases against him, one for trying to overturn the last election. And the judge who convicted him of fraud for paying off a porn star could now delay sentencing, possibly forever.
We're going to help our country heal.
He's clearly racist, homophobic.
I see him as a dictator.
For now, the Trump team is already interviewing cabinet hopefuls and planning its move.
Is that when we lose an election, we accept the results.
Well, this electoral routing is a reality check for Democrats. It's already forcing a hard rethink of a party that's been found to be out of touch and out of step with the majority of Americans.
May God bless you, and may God bless the United States of America. I thank you all.
Let's go to US Bureau Chief David Woiwod, who's in the nation's capital. David, it's a massive defeat for the Democrats on multiple fronts. What happens now?
Good evening. Well, Democrats just continue to lick their wounds tonight after this crushing defeat as attention now turns to that transition process. And in just a few hours' time, US President Joe Biden, with that in mind, will be making an address to the nation. Now, it's been confirmed too that President Biden has invited President-elect Trump to the White House in the coming weeks to assist with that transition process. And of course, that is a courtesy that Trump did not afford Biden just 4 years ago. This is really Democrats attempting to take that high road and prove yet again that elections can be run, won and conceded in the United States without chaos and violence.
Indeed. David Woiwod, thank you. 7 News has uncovered damning comments from the Prime Minister about Donald Trump from 3 years ago, which may come back to bite. Anthony Albanese trying to turn a page today, picking up the phone to say congratulations to the incoming Commander-in-Chief.
They've never met in person, but today Anthony Albanese rang Donald Trump for the first time.
And I congratulated him on his election victory.
It was, he says, a constructive conversation, affirming a close and strong relationship.
And I look forward to working with President Trump in the future in the interests of both of our nations.
Including on AUKUS, a far cry from this.
He scares the shit out of me.
And 7 News can reveal these previously unreported remarks to a Perth think tank, criticising
President Trump's incitement of the storming of the Capitol, when President Trump sought to undermine the democratic process.
And slamming Mr Trump's foreign policy.
Under President Trump, we saw the first steps in a retreat by the US from its historical role as the leader of the post-war international order. It appeared the US was no longer interested in being the indispensable power.
Do you feel that you need to apologise for some of the things you've said about Donald Trump in the past?
No, I look forward to working with President Trump.
Kevin Rudd was even more pointed before becoming ambassador to Washington, calling Donald Trump barking mad, nuts, and the most destructive president in history, all deleted from his Twitter feed overnight.
This has been done to eliminate the possibility of such comments being misconstrued.
Foreign Minister Penny Wong confident she's in the clear.
I don't have anything to delete.
Though there is this.
We have seen in recent times a leader who was prepared to damage alliances and partnerships. And that was Donald Trump.
This morning, more diplomatic.
Congratulations to Donald Trump. We certainly look forward to working with him.
And 7 News can reveal that in that telephone call today, Donald Trump told Anthony Albanese he considered the US and Australia to be, quote, perfect friends, unquote. Friendly enough, the Albanese government hopes to spare us again from his threatened tariffs on imports, irrespective of who's said what about Donald Trump in the past.
OK, Mark Riley, thank you. In breaking news, near gale force wind gusts have ripped down trees in the Blue Mountains, blocking the main rail line at Blacksland. There are no train services running tonight between Penrith and Springwood. Replacement buses are still being organised.
A father of two is behind bars tonight, charged over an unprovoked attack in Sydney's northwest, which has left another man on life support. Detectives say the two were strangers drinking at a local pub when one punch was thrown with devastating consequences.
Tarikia Singapore is a family man, but police say he's torn someone else's apart.
Has he said anything about the assault?
I can't disclose.
The 43-year-old father of two is accused of a one-punch attack on Paul Griffin at the Edamoga pub in Kellyville Ridge on Tuesday night, leaving the 55-year-old with catastrophic head injuries. The men didn't know each other.
Does he have a message for the family?
I've got no further comment.
Singapore took off after the attack but was picked up in Glendenning the following morning. Officers searched his home in nearby Plumpton, uncovering 36 cannabis plants and a hydroponic setup. Today, Singapore's assault and drug matters were mentioned in Blacktown Court.
Do you know how he'll be pleading?
We'll need to review the brief of evidence at this stage and then that'll indicate the basis of our plea.
Paul Griffin has run this air conditioning business in Seven Hills for 25 years.
He seemed to be a very friendly guy. He's a good guy.
He's also on the board of the Hills Bulls Football Club. Paul Griffin never recovered from his critical head injuries. His loved ones are now preparing to say their final goodbyes. His organs will then be donated. His accused attacker remains behind bars. Natasha Squarey, 7 News.
The Premier is pushing for a review into the Parole Board's decision to release a convicted cop basher. Roderick Holohan will walk from prison in the next 2 weeks after serving more than 15 years for attacking Samantha Barlow in King's Cross.
I can understand why Officer Barlow and Officer Barlow's family are furious about it. We've got concerns about it too. The Attorney General is seeking advice about potential avenues of appeal.
Samantha Barlow claims Holohan's
after the High Court ruled it was unconstitutional yesterday. The Home Affairs Minister has met with the Governor-General to introduce new regulations.
Leader of the House. These visa conditions are designed to protect the community, not as a punitive measure.
The Coalition is considering whether it will support new laws that back up the regulations.
NRL legend Wendell Sailor is facing several serious charges after an incident at an inner-city bar. Live to Bill Hogan. Bill, what happened?
Well, Ange, the former football star is accused of assaulting 2 people and intimidating another here at Pappy's Bar last night. This security video shows the moment the 50-year-old was confronted by police after bar staff alerted 000 around 11 o'clock. He was arrested and is now facing 5 offences, including common assault, intimidation and offensive behaviour.
He started getting aggressive with customers and the staff, coming from downstairs to upstairs. Police were called because he wouldn't leave when he was asked to leave.
Is Wendell welcome back here for a drink?
Definitely not.
Now, 7 News understands that no one was seriously injured in the incident. Sailor was granted conditional bail and will face court later this month.
Against freebies for politicians. Latham has apparently received at least 28 hospitality tickets to horse racing and greyhound meetings since he first entered New South Wales Parliament in March 2019.
A southwest Sydney community is pulling together after a pair of heartless thieves on motorbikes went on a stealing rampage. Smashing through several businesses in Minto, their low act became even more callous when they set their sights on a charity.
Troublemakers on two wheels, revving engines before ripping down doors.
All log damage and then my till damage.
Ransacking the till, Minto's very own Bonnie and Clyde, in and out of this Mexican restaurant in minutes, stealing thousands of dollars in cash. Into a charity. The formal project is a free community initiative run by volunteers.
They targeted the community. That's what they did.
The motorbike bandits came for money. Businesses in Minto. 7 News understands the same duo broke into MacArthur Square shopping centre, vandalising several stores here and taking off with thousands of dollars worth of tools. Using their ride as a weapon, it won't be long until they're in the hands of police.
So these robbers aren't getting you down?
Hell no.
Annie Puller, 7 News.
There's big news for Western Sydney tonight with major tweaks to flight paths for the city's new airport.
It's a win for residents around Blacktown and parts of the Blue Mountains who can now expect slightly less aircraft noise.
Western Sydney Airport, due to open in 2026. Today, a new plan. What to do about this? Distributing aircraft noise on new flight paths over Sydney's west after 8,000 submissions from the public.
There will be people who are upset.
The outcome is not what we want.
2 tweaks of flight paths, one in the night time for a better sleep at Bundina, the other in the daytime to avoid Mount Toma, Mount Wilson, Mount Irvine. Also, night flights flying higher to reduce noise at Lyndon and Woodford.
The bottom line remains there are still flights over the Blue Mountains day and night that I'm deeply concerned about.
There'll also be fewer night departures over Blacktown to the north, with more planes avoiding Silverdale to the south.
Any reduction in noises, especially the flights in the evenings, is welcome.
The Federal Transport Minister accused of putting politics ahead of people.
The Minister has somehow been able to move flight paths over a Labor electorate.
The plan for Sydney's second airport will include a noise monitoring network, with the results to be made public and included in any future adjustments of flight paths.
But we're not going to give up the fight, because what we're asking for is just for fairness.
Chris Marr, 7 News.
It is time to check the weather now with Grace Fitzgibbon.
Grace, conditions really took a turn this afternoon, didn't they?
They certainly did, and have a look at all this hail that bucketed down over Cessnock in the Hunter Valley this afternoon. Storms have prompted a severe weather warning across the Hunter and the mid-north coast districts this evening due to damaging winds, rain and hail. Williamtown recorded about 13 mils in around an hour. Here in Sydney, rain started to creep in this afternoon, but for the most part it was warm and muggy. A low of 21 in the CBD climbed all the way up to 31. The wet weather started to hit Sydney southwest at around 2:30. Close to 4 mils fell very quickly in Holsworthy. And the system looks to be tracking east this hour. I'll have those details coming up in your full forecast.
OK, Grace, thank you. A daylight abduction in a ritzy Sydney suburb after the break bundled into a car, how the victim escaped.
The major metro upgrade to southwest Sydney's century-old rail line.
Sydney's alarming police shortage, the suburbs most in need.
After sport, the health insurance hack saving families thousands.
And next, the new Western Sydney ferry makes its harbour debut. Welcome back. The newest addition to Sydney's ferry fleet has cruised into our harbour, named after a pioneering marine biologist. Isabel Bennett will become the third new Parramatta River-class vessel in service in the coming weeks. She travelled a long way to get here, leaving from Hobart through Bass Strait in a 630 nautical mile journey.
A southwest Sydney man could face decades behind bars for kidnapping and torturing his victim for hours. Sam Armeni was abducted, bashed and held hostage for days. His terrifying ordeal from start to finish caught on camera.
This is the moment Sam Armeni was taken from his waterfront property. As quick as they are to get in, the four masked men leave, smashing what is believed to be a mobile phone before they exit and racing through the streets of Sans Souci. Within 10 minutes, police saturate the area, but he and his kidnappers are long gone. He was held here at a vacant house at Padstow. Tortured for hours, he fell in and out of consciousness. He managed to escape, breaking through the fly screen of this window.
I got punched in the head about 50,000 times.
Armeni explains what happened to police.
They kept hitting me in the head with a machete in the back of the gun.
And what it was over.
They just kept saying they wanted money, they wanted money. They wanted $3 million.
This extraordinary video from the police helicopter shows the manhunt for the suspects, the darkness and thick shrubs, no match for the chopper's heat sensors. Joshua Pele and McCann Jr. Livingston were charged and stood trial. Livingston was acquitted. After a trial lasting several weeks, Joshua Pele was found guilty of the charges. For aggravated kidnapping and break-and-enter offences, he faces a maximum 25 years jail. He will return to court next month. Leonie Ryan, 7 News.
One of the state's most senior officers is sounding the alarm over a chronic police shortage in Sydney southwest. In a leaked memo to Karen Webb, Assistant Commissioner Brett McFadden says the force is thousands of positions short, especially in areas like Fairfield, Bankstown and Lidcombe.
The onus is on us. We've got to cop the criticism and we have to make a change, and I'll have more to say about it soon.
The Assistant Commissioner claims there aren't enough general duties officers, hampering the force's capacity to prevent crime. 6 weeks after it was closed to commuters, we've had the first major update on the metro conversion of the Bankstown rail line.
Builders have been busy installing barrier doors along station platforms, with work at one major stop already complete.
The Bankstown line bolstered with metro barriers, almost half of the screen doors now installed along the platforms. Canterbury Station is finished.
Metro all the way to Bankstown.
The popular line shut down 6 weeks ago. Pink buses put through their paces.
The bus drivers are a bit scary. Sometimes they run over gutters and you feel like you're on
There are long queues.
I don't see any problems. Works for now.
In February, trial trains will be running.
Like anything, once you test, you're going to uncover some things, and it's how we respond.
But ongoing industrial action from the Electrical Trades Union is threatening to derail progress with work bans.
Obviously, electrical work is a big part of this conversion process, including, for example, the replacement of all of the overhead wire.
Metro has told 7 News it is evaluating the impact of ETU action on the conversion timetable, but the Minister insists the project is still on track.
At this stage, we've been able to work constructively with them.
Although all this work could still take more than a year.
As long as it doesn't last longer than 1 year, I can hang in there.
Serena Andaloro, 7 News.
Hey, busy Thursday on 7 News. Here's what's still to come. Sparkies strike breakthrough. Big news for Western Sydney families without power for months.
From stolen cigarettes to an ATM, the full extent of this teen gang Sydney rampage.
The major supermarket knife ban to prevent another Bondi Junction tragedy.
Raygun calls it quits. The controversial Olympian explains her decision.
Rogue rocket, what a close call looks like in a war zone.
Inside Coldplay's first Sydney show, what fans can expect.
And ahead in sport, NRL Premierships, an Origin win. Now Kangaroos ace Dylan Edwards is eyeing the perfect trifecta this weekend.
There's been a breakthrough in the power dispute that's left thousands of Sydney-siders in the dark. The Fair Work Commission's ordered striking electricians To end their months-long pay dispute with Endeavour Energy, it means work will resume on Western Sydney housing projects where families have been left homeless, waiting for power to be connected. The union's disputes with Ausgrid, Transgrid and Essential Energy, however, remain ongoing.
In a move to help staff feel safer, Coles at Bondi Junction has removed Smeg knives from its store. The promotion was popular with customers but not staff. In the wake of the deadly stabbing attack in April, the decision was made to keep the knives off-site. They're still available at all other Coles stores across Sydney.
Police believe they've caught a teenage gang responsible for more than a dozen robberies across Sydney.
Last week, 7 News brought you exclusive pictures of the group allegedly stealing an ATM. Tonight, there are claims they also pocketed $150,000 worth of cigarettes.
When this trio stole an ATM last week, detectives suspected they'd seen their handiwork before. Here at Longueville last month, the group rammed a stolen Lexus through the doors of a tobacconist, taking off with the till and cigarettes. Now, police say they've tracked them down. Arresting 19-year-old Bailey Trigar at Concord yesterday, along with 2 boys aged 15 and 17. During October, police allege the trio was responsible for 13 break-and-enters right across Sydney, hitting stores from Avalon to Mortdale and Edmondson Park. Those robberies saw $150,000 worth of cigarettes stolen. The ATM taken, later found dumped in a park. Business owners relieved those allegedly responsible for the crime spree have been caught.
We don't need these people on the street, just planning to put more security on the store.
Trigar today didn't apply for bail on the 34 charges he's now facing. Police are still investigating whether he may have been involved in other break-and-enters. He's also accused of refusing to give detectives access to his phone. He'll be back in court in January. Andrew Denny, 7 News.
It's a stark reminder of life in a war zone when a rocket spearing into a car is considered a lucky escape. This is in central Israel, where locals took selfies in front of the Hezbollah rocket fired from Lebanon. It was one of 10 which the Israeli Defence Force says was intercepted, with this huge chunk described as shrapnel. No injuries were reported. In a world first, the Albanese government is moving to ban social media for teenagers under 16. While the Prime Minister admits it won't be foolproof, he claims it'll give parents the upper hand to keep children from harm.
Parents who carry the real pain, the tragic impact of social media. Rob Evans' daughter Liv took her own life at 15.
The downward spiral that she went on with social media around her body image.
Greta says her anorexia was fuelled by toxic images online.
When you're 14, you're insecure, and so you're just so vulnerable.
Their campaign to protect children direct to the Prime Minister.
124,000 signatures that we now have.
This one's for the mums and dads.
Announcing new laws to ban social media for kids under 16.
I want parents to be able to say, sorry mate, it's against the law.
Banned even if they already have an account, and even if parents say it's okay. There'd be no penalties for users.
The onus will be on social media platforms to demonstrate they are taking reasonable steps to prevent access.
The penalties for platforms that don't are still to be revealed, with a trial on the best way to verify someone's age while protecting their privacy is still to be finalised. It goes to National Cabinet tomorrow, Parliament later this month, to take effect in a year. The opposition has long called for a ban.
We want to ensure that the legislation is strong, that there aren't loopholes.
Social media giants arguing kids do need to learn how to use it.
Banning teenagers from social media is a 20th century response to 21st century challenges.
For Liv's dad, it's change to give children a chance.
These laws would have protected her.
Paul Kadak, 7 News.
The long wait was worth it for Coldplay fans, with Sydney finally getting its turn to embrace the band 2 years after they began their world tour. And it was an Aussie classic that just about stole the show.
You're the voice, try.
Sellout shows at Accor Stadium.
One of the biggest weekends of the year for home buyers just ahead. Sydney's auction hotspots revealed.
It's Bluey's world and we're just living in it. Your first look is next.
The health insurance rules many don't know about that could save you big time.
And in sport, more questions than answers. The favourite to replace David Warner fails to fire in his latest Test match audition.
Welcome back. Mail theft is surging ahead of the holiday season. New research from Finder estimates nearly 22,000 parcels to be bought during Black Friday sales later this month will be stolen. It found 4 million Australians have already had a parcel lost or stolen in the past year. Online customers are urged to send deliveries to secure locations.
Sydney property's spring selling season is in full swing with one of the busiest weekends ahead of us. Buyers looking in Blacktown are in luck, but it's slim pickings in southwest Sydney. Angelique Opie has more.
Close to 2,900 homes in Australia are going under the hammer this weekend. If all of them go ahead, it will be the third busiest auction week of the year. That's also the case in Sydney, with more than 1,100 auctions scheduled across the city. More buyers are listing their homes compared to this time last year. 1,000 homes were up for grabs then. Plenty to choose from in Blacktown, with 70 auctions there. In Parramatta, just under 60. Canterbury Bankstown has 54 auctions scheduled. Fewer options this weekend in Campbelltown, Penrith and Camden, with just under a dozen auctions in each suburb.
A world-first Bluey experience has finally opened its doors in Brisbane.
Fans of the hit TV show now have a chance to step into the lives of their favourite blue healers.
4-year-old Charlotte meets Bluey and Bingo. The world's most famous healer family wowing fans in Brisbane, posing for photos before heading inside to throw open the doors of Bluey's world.
So we're about to head inside Bluey's world right now.
The 70-minute immersive experience takes people through the hit TV show's iconic Queenslander.
Where is Bluey? I can't think of another series or movie that represents Australia and Brisbane, Queensland better than Bluey.
These families the first through at the soft opening this morning.
We happened to be here this week for holidays and I thought it was opening today, so we go home tomorrow, so we just made it.
And it was hard to say who was more wackadoo for Bluey, the kids or the adults.
There's a scene where she goes, I just need 20 minutes. I feel like it really resonates to that.
Bluey's world officially opens on Tuesday, and that's when more of the magic that awaits inside will be revealed. Bluey's world. Rosanna Kingson, 7 News.
Taking a look at finance now, and the ASX 200 has closed up 27 points. Shares in Sigma Healthcare saw 25% after its merger with Chemist Warehouse was approved. And one Aussie dollar is currently buying 66.21 US cents.
Health insurance fine print that can save you thousands. Still to come, the hidden loophole most people don't know about to help drive down premiums.
And the end of the road for Raygun, why she's calling it quits in her own words. Don't miss those stories soon on 7 News. But now Liam's back with Sport, and Liam, another bid joins the NRL expansion discussion.
It certainly does, Fergo, and this latest push is headed up by ex-Manly coach Graham Lowe, and he says he has a current NRL coach who's ready to go. Details next. Plus, an exclusive look inside the Gillaroos camp, how they plan to emulate our mighty Matildas. And I'll always He's not used to losing big games, so Dylan Edwards is even more determined to atone for last year's Pacific Championships final. The Kangaroos play Tonga at a sold-out CommBank.
Victory in Sunday's Pacific Championship final would cap a stellar season for fullback Dylan Edwards.
Personally, it's been a great year, and as Team said, it's been awesome too.
Edwards debuted in last year's Pacific Championships. Australia humbled 30-0 by New Zealand in the final. Sunday against Tonga, redemption.
You just don't want to let your country down. You don't want to You don't want to let the jersey down.
Apart from Sunday's fan day here in Wyong, the Kangaroos all week have pretty much trained in front of no one, unlike Tonga. Pupils from League Factory Fairfield Patrician Brothers performing Tonga's national anthem before training.
It's sort of like a pinch yourself moment.
Sunday's sellout crowd bound to boast a bigger sea of red than a Donald Trump rally.
They're a passionate fan base and they've got a great deal of fans, especially out in Western Sydney. I imagine it's going to be a sea of red come game time.
This just represents what my family came to Australia for, you know. They come here for a better life.
No secret to success, a fast start, size on Tonga's side.
We haven't won anything yet. You know, this is the game that counts.
It's one in the trenches.
In the city this afternoon, former Manly coach Graham Lowe launched a revamped expansion bid of the Christchurch-based Southern Orcas. The goal is to enter the NRL in 2027, and Lowe says there's plenty of untapped talent.
I'm telling you, in the shopping centres in New Zealand, you've got kids jumping around like Benji Marshall. They're everywhere.
The consortium is prepared to pay a licence fee and says the bid, which includes a centre of excellence, is worth $325 million. Lowe claims to have an agreement in place with the current NRL coach. Gillaroos coach Brad Donald believes his side can emulate the success of the Matildas and become household names at the Home World Cup in 2026. Tonight, we take you inside their camp.
Being the best in the world takes blood, sweat and tears. This is a sneak peek inside the Gillaroos camp in the Blue Mountains. Fake newspapers lined the wall with headlines this team want to create.
We want to come out of the other side of that 2026 World Cup, not just as World Cup champions, but with a number of household names.
Brad Donald already thinking about the Home World Cup, where he believes the side can emulate the success of another women's side.
There was no prouder moment than watching my 16 and 19-year-old sons cheer the Matildas on with their mates.
Ali Briganshaw will play her 25th test against the Kiwis on Sunday. It's a moment with none other than Gordon Tallis from her very first test match that reminds her how far the women's game has come.
He came to present our jerseys and he just picked them up, looked at them, it's like, there's no coat of arms, and we said, we're not allowed to wear them. And he said, you will not play unless you wear the coat of arms.
As far as the women's game has come, there's still a long way to go. The next thing these players want to achieve is for the women's game to be fully professional.
I want girls to just be their best selves at football and not have to worry about the stresses of having to wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning.
Jaleesa Apps, 7 News.
Jake Fraser-McGurk isn't listening to those who say he needs to curb his enthusiasm. The 22-year-old opener plans to keep attacking from the first ball despite a run of lean scores and a growing band of critics.
Oh, not really, no. You know, the game's changing and that's sort of the way we want to play our cricket, is really take on those first 10 overs.
After rolling India A for 161 at the MCG, Australia A captain and the front runner for the vacant Test opening spot, Nathan McSweeney, made just 14.
There's the edge and he's out. KL Rahul, who's got very good hands.
Cameron Bancroft made just 3 runs. Australia were 2 for 53 in reply when rain stopped play. Marcus Harris not out on 25 and Sam Constas on 1. Elise Perry's 86 off 62 balls steered the Sixers to a much-needed win over the Hobart Hurricanes last night. Perry should have been run out on 82, but no Hobart player bothered to appeal. The extra runs were crucial, with Sydney sneaking home by 6. 15-year-old Kiva Bray impressed again, returning figures of 2 for 13 off 3 overs. Robbie Dolan rode the winner in the last in his return to riding in Ipswich this afternoon after showing punters the Melbourne Cup. The Irishman keeps being asked if the enormity of his shock win on 100-1 outsider Knight's Choice has sunk in yet.
I don't think it'll ever sink in, to be honest. Actually, it's just sunk in. It feels bloody good, I'll tell you that much.
This afternoon's feature race at Flemington, the Group 1 Crown Oaks was won by Damien Lane aboard Treasure the Moment. You'd like to think that winning the Melbourne Cup has sunk in at some stage.
I do like him. He's a funny lad.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lynn.
A little-known private health insurance hack could save families thousands of dollars a year.
Some parents are kicking kids off the family policy too soon, which means they're missing out on serious savings.
Mother Christina has cracked a health insurance loophole.
It'll save a lot of people a lot of money.
She took advantage of a little-known change allowing children to remain on their parents' policy until they turn 31.
So they've cancelled their other policies and they're with me now. It does help. Every dollar helps.
Many health insurers have kept quiet about the money-saving opportunity. Health plans for singles can cost up to 161% more than a family plan.
For an average family of 4, so parents and 2 adult children, you could save up to $1,700 a year being on a family policy.
The savings increase with each eligible child to up to $7,000 for 4 children.
Not only can you save quite a lot of money as a family, you can actually afford to take out better coverage for everyone.
Adult kids don't need to live with their parents or even be in the same state to stay on the family plan. But they can't be married in a de facto relationship or have any children.
I was quite happy because I didn't think that they'd be able to cover Tiana because she was living out of home, but no, they did.
There's only one warning.
Making sure that your adult kids are willing to cough up their part of their health insurance and those parents aren't covering it themselves.
Georgia Holland, 7 News.
There will be no encore from Raygun, with the Olympian vowing to never compete again. Her unexpected retirement has shone a light on the dark side of fame that's followed her in the wake of her controversial performance in Paris.
It was really upsetting because I felt like I just didn't have any control over how people saw me or who I was.
The 37-year-old blames the tidal wave of criticism for her decision.
Now Grace is back with the weather.
Grace, how's that rain tracking?
Showers across Sydney remain light for now. The heavy rain mostly contained to the Hunter region. I think you'll be very surprised by what's in store tomorrow. Details coming up next.
Tonight's 7 News headlines. Ray Hadley has suddenly quit radio and Nine on the same day his bosses face shareholders over the company's culture.
Kamala Harris has promised a peaceful transition while conceding the US election to Donald Trump.
Former league and rugby star Wendell Sailor has been arrested accused of assaulting 2 people at a Sydney bar.
And there have been changes to the new Western Sydney Airport's flight paths, meaning less noise for locals. Now here's Grace with Sydney's weather.
Thank you, Mark. We are seeing widespread showers across Sydney this evening, but fairly light at this stage. Falls no more than around 2 millimetres. Earlier today, it was very warm and muggy. You would have felt it overnight. 21 was the low in the CBD, warming to 31 by about 1 o'clock. Before showers started to creep in, there was a lot of grey cloud cover. Temperatures sat well above average. Parramatta, Mascot and Cronulla reached 34 degrees. On the satellite, a trough lies in the northeast of New South Wales tonight as another trough and its associated cold front cross the state, causing unsettled conditions, especially around Newcastle and the Hunter Valley, where a severe weather warning for severe rain, hail and wind is still in place. Parts of Newcastle saw falls of up to 16 millimetres late this afternoon. Tomorrow, the showers will likely linger along the north coast and adjacent ranges, and we will have very hot, dry and windy conditions elsewhere. Gusty northwesterlies have prompted a fire danger warning. A total fire ban is in place for northwestern, upper central west, Greater Sydney and the Illawarra Shoalhaven areas tomorrow. Elsewhere around the country, Brisbane in for a rainy day, possible thunderstorms 33 degrees, Melbourne looking cloudy with a top of 20. Similar conditions in Adelaide with 21 and showers likely in Perth with 26 degrees. Here in Sydney, some good news. We are expecting the cloud to clear overnight, revealing plenty of sunshine tomorrow. A low of 17 degrees in the CBD, set to warm to a top of 30. From there, cloud will start to creep back in for your weekend. Saturday, we're expecting a top of 23 in the city, 25 in our west. There is a chance of some light showers, 28 the expected high in our west on Sunday. And at this stage, we could be in for some cloud and wet weather for the start of the working week. Heaviest falls look to be on Tuesday, possibly up to 15 millimetres there. So looking like a bit of a mixed bag, but tomorrow should be a cracker. Mark and Ange?
Sure looks like it. Thank you, Grace.
Thank you.
That is 7 News for this Thursday. We will have updates for you throughout the evening.
From all the team, I hope you have a great night.
Good night.
The 7 News app will give you the news you want. Download now.